third strategy would be lecture videos. And we say lecture videos, the main things these do is they provide more time for active learning activities in the classroom. So that portion of maximum engagement, the number one complaint we hear is, well, I don't have time for active learning strategies. I don't have time for these activities that promote a deeper and more meaningful learning and that naturally promote the learning of soft life skills. So this frees up some of that time. You may have heard the term flipping. Well, this is a form of flipping, but when you have a set of videos, you flip what you want to flip. If you happen to be out for a day, weather day, not a problem. Have the lecture videos. You have to be out for a sick day or something. Once again, these videos come into play. So be used for a multitude of purposes. But we got to think about, what do they do for that student that when they get home and there's nobody within a rock throw of their house ever set foot on a college campus, they don't have a whole lot of support. They don't have anywhere to go to get the extra tutoring or help they need. They sure can't afford a tutor. So where are they going to go for help? And the answer should not be they have to come back out to the college, or it should be they should be able to get online. And if we have those unit objectives written, then what we can do is objective number 1, video number 1. Objective number 2, video number 2. And that way when a student's having problems with a certain objective, they'll go right to the video and can use it for support, and tutoring, so forth. What they won't do is they're not going to look through a 75-minute video to try to find where they're having a problem. So keeping those things short allows you time to do things like group work, timed activities, wonderful way to get focused. When you put students in a group and you say you have 90 seconds to come up with a top 10 list of so-and-so, then what you're going to get is you're going to get immediate focus, immediate communication and teamwork because they realize they have a limited amount of time. What we don't want to do is throw them in a group and say just work on so-and-so, because the first thing that'll come out will probably be a cell phone, and they'll start texting and so forth. So the timed activities keep the student focused. Writing assignments and other wonderful activities to use in promoting active learning. Anytime they're having to summarize something on paper, they are using critical thinking skills. So, but more importantly, it provides 24/7 assistance. I mean, it just can't get any better than having around-the-clock assistance for students, and also a super valuable resource for adjunct or even new instructors. You can think of the power of having every one of your top 10 enrollment courses, those crucial first term courses for students, having every one of those with a complete set of lecture videos. How valuable that would be for an adjunct that comes on board. Instead of just throwing them a book and saying, hey, make sure you have your grades in by the end of the term, you actually say, hey, we've already loaded a list of objectives onto the LMS. You have a full-time instructor's lecture videos to go with each one of those objectives already loaded on LMS, your learning management system. So your students have access to the same resources that full-time teachers have. And this is a way to level that playing field a little bit for adjunct and full-time instructors. Now, a key on these videos, we want to limit them to no more than 10 minutes, 15 max on a video. This is what they call in the classroom chunking. We do a short amount of lecture, and then we do some reflection on that material and an assignment, and then we assess ourselves before we move on to the next bit of material. It'd be kind of like teaching a card game. You wouldn't just, if you were teaching somebody a new card game, you wouldn't just start from the first rule and go all the way through the entire game. You would mention something, and then you would show them with the cards how this works. Then you'd move to the next little scenario, teach them that, and then show them how that works with the cards. So it's a natural process in learning. Those videos linking to those objectives is what's so powerful. And to show you just how powerful this is, San Jose State University wrote an article. They took their highest withdrawal engineering course. And in that course, they said, well, you know what, we've been hearing about these lecture videos and flipping classes. Let's try it for this course, see if that helps withdrawal rates. In the section they implemented that in, they admitted that they covered more material at a faster pace, and the tests were more difficult. But even with that, the students, when they saw test scores go up over a letter grade across the board, they knew then they had hit a sweet spot for learning, something to improve the learning and the withdrawal rates in those courses. There's plenty of other case studies for flipped classes. We don't have time to go through them all, but in Manhattan, New York, Hunter College, chemistry pass rate went from 60 to 85% almost immediately. And these were no more than 10-minute videos. A lot of problem solving on those videos, walking through step by step. something you don't necessarily get from a solutions manual. And once the student opens a solution manual, all the solution is there. We don't want them to see the entire solution. We just want them to see what will get them through that first step to the problem. Because problem, by nature, a problem is something you don't know how to solve. And when we're approaching something we don't know how to solve, especially when it seems overwhelming, it's crucial that we do those in small steps. A problem should never be more difficult than one step, because that's all we're supposed to be working on at a time. So that's what these short videos do. It focuses on the steps to problem solving. Lehman College in New York has 80% minorities in their student body, and they saw chem pass rates in the chemistry class go up from 35% to 80%. So the testimony for these flipped classes is just overwhelming. Had a chemistry professor from Eastern Michigan State University, after one of the conferences where we were talking about this, went back to his office, and I know he went back and immediately applied it because I got an email. By the time I got back to my office, I already had an email. Said he went back to his class and he changed up the next class period. And the unsolicited response from students was so overwhelming about how much they enjoyed that class. He said he was changing his whole course. And not only that, he was department chair, so they're going to implement these changes across the department. 1 year later, this professor is back at the same conference, and he's given a session, and the title of the section was "Old Dogs Can Learn New Tricks." And that is a prime example. Well, I told him he was my hero. This is a prime example of how participation leads to buy-in. When instructors see how it really works. And he even said he found himself culling off a lot of that material that in the beginning he thought was so important, but really looking at the big picture, it was not that important. Kind of like we talked about on the course objectives. There's a North Carolina State University and University of Minnesota also implemented this, had a 100% increase in retained information and conceptual understanding, doubled. Reduced the technical program attrition by 22%, and because they knew those interactions were some of the strongest factors for college satisfaction. So once again, it goes back to our course evaluations and using those to improve perceptions. But these interactions occurred within the cooperative learning environment. In other words, the videos bought time for these activities to be going on in class. Because contrary to popular belief, if our students aren't critically thinking in class, the odds of them doing it outside of class are slim to none. And this process promotes a higher self-esteem, more control over learning. So when we get to lecture videos, we want to look at the same list of 9 problems that affected student learning from the beginning and write a V for videos beside each problem that could be helped by providing these instructor-made lecture videos for each objective.